You know what's really hard to believe? Is that we could put actors like Steve Carell, Anne Hathaway, Alan Arkin, Terrence Stamp, Dwayne Johnson, Terry Crews, David Kochner, James Caan, Patrick Warburton, and the Great Khali all in one movie and somehow make it work. Yeah, you heard me right. Those are just a few of the actors that are in this movie. I'm gonna guess that you've probably seen this by now, since the movie was released in 2008, but if you haven't, you're missing out. Get Smart was a TV show back in the 60s that, well, let's be fair here, I didn't watch a lot of growing up. One, I wasn't born in the 60s, and two, the episodes that I did get to see were more in my adult life. I've seen a few, and I understand the premise pretty well, and it's a really fun spy show. That's the whole point of it. Well, when they remade this into the 2008 film, I was there. You said Steve Carell, and I was there. He's already one of my favorite comedy actors, let alone one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. And he delivers a performance in this that I think does justice to the original series, as well as to the modern take. Now, maybe I'm wrong there. There's some people that are probably a bit older than me that might disagree. If there are, I don't know. So I'll say for the time being, ignorance is bliss, and we'll move on. Let's just get this out of the way now. This movie is hilarious. The action is fantastic, the storyline makes sense, and I don't ever get bored watching it. I've seen this movie more times than I can probably count, and still find it just as funny as the first time that I watched it. Being that this movie was made in 2008, however, there are some jokes that might go over some new viewers' heads just because they have a little bit of a date to them. There's some references from the original TV show that are probably put there just to appease those fans, but I don't feel that they necessarily work in this film. So it's not perfect, but it's definitely funny. And let me tell you, that humor slaps. The dance scene in the movie alone is filled with enough humor that it could carry the rest of the movie. There's an awkwardness to it, a fun to it, a excitement to it, a what on earth is that going on to it, and it's just so indicative of the rest of the film. As I said earlier on, the cast is huge in this movie. I mean, there are so many people that I probably could make an entire 10-minute video just telling you everybody that's in this movie. But somehow, all of their pieces feel filled. There's some characters that probably don't get near the limelight that they deserve, but it still doesn't feel off. Like, every character has their role and they fill it well. And the casting in general just really works in this movie. You have Alan Arkin as the head of this secret agent organization. You have James Caan as the president of the United States for some reason. And it just seems to click. You know, everybody feels like they belong in a position, and they do that to the best of their abilities, and it's great. We have our main duo, Steve Carell and Anne Hathaway, and they have a romance side story going on in the movie that also doesn't feel ridiculous or unnecessary. Like, it works so well that I almost don't pay attention to it anymore because it feels so organic and like it belongs in this movie, not rushed or overperformed like other films try to do. They also still manage to do their jobs while they're having this side thing go on, and that's something we almost never see in film. Dwayne Johnson in this movie is a mega Chad and probably one of my favorite actors. I mean, if you haven't seen Baywatch, he's basically the same guy from there as he is in this film. But he's fun. He's overly energetic, overly charismatic, and it works for Dwayne because that's who he is. Terrence Stamp, one of the most well-known villains in cinema history as General Zod, comes back as a villain in this movie, and it works as well. He's over the top, and he delivers a pretty decent performance in this movie as a villain, and it works. It's the whole thing just works. And then you have WWE star the Great Khali. I mean, yeah, we've got another WWE star in here, but I mean, come on, the Great Khali. And sure, he may not be a man of many words, but holy cow, I love his character. I believed him the entire time, or believed in him the entire time. What a cool dude. I want to hang out with him, and I also never want to mess with that man, because I will die. This movie really does have a little something for everybody. Maybe you're a wrestling fan. You get two of the greatest of all time being in a movie together, which is awesome. Or maybe you're a fan of action movies, and that's in here too. Or maybe you like a little bit of romance in your movie. That's here. And if you're really into humor, that's all over the place in this movie. It's a comedy movie that stands well on its own. And if you haven't gone to see it ever, you probably should do that now. We are all looking for a good time, and this movie is exactly that, a good time. If you're expecting to have your mind absolutely blown, you're not going to get that in this movie. You're also not going to get anything of depth or of substance that isn't just generic humor. So if you have the mindset of a critic and you really want that next Sundance Film Festival award winner, you're really not getting that in this movie. And you should probably avoid it if you have that mentality. This is just fun. It's fun for the whole family. It's fun if you're alone. It's fun all the time. Hey, also, while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps me out. And leave a comment about what you think about this movie. I read every single comment that comes up on my feed, and would love to hear your input on it. This is another one of those guilty pleasure films for me, and I really do like to hear what other people have to say about these things. I'm not the only one that wants to talk about movies. Come on, give me that feedback. You know you're here for it. Anyway, we'll see you in the next one.